Giants Week 11 reaction. So it's been a weird few weeks for the Giants here, and Giants fans, of course. Going into the bye at 1-7, negative vibes, and wanting to tank for a draft pick, all that kind of stuff. And then we come out of the bye and win the next couple of games, and there's some light at the end of the tunnel here. And in the division we're in, maybe there's a chance that the Giants can make some noise and somehow go 8-8 or something like that. And as long as the Redskins and the Cowboys and the Eagles struggle, then maybe there's a glimmer of hope that the Giants have a chance at sneaking into the playoffs. I'm still not yet buying it, but the fact that they were able to come out and win these two games, they were against opponents that weren't the greatest. I mean, let's be honest, the Niners and the Buccaneers most likely will be picking in the top 5 in the draft this year, so not the best opponents, but you got to beat who's on your schedule, so I give them credit there. So there's a lot of positives to go over today, and I'll get into those first, of course. So number one doesn't really have to do with this particular game, but I wanted to give a shout out to Pat Shurmur and the team for staying together. I mean, last year we saw a team that went 3-13. You feel like there was a lot of tension in the locker room and between players and Ben McAdoo. And although no one has, came out and said that they were against Ben McAdoo, there were some anonymous reports that came out. But a lot of players seemed like they liked McAdoo, but you could tell he lost the team last year after a certain point. The Giants could have went down that same road this year. We do have some guys from last year, of course, on this roster. And Pat Shurmur and this team was able to rally together, coming out of the bye, being focused. And it's easy to go at 1-7 and then completely give up on the season, start thinking about your off-season plans and stuff like that, thinking about, playing for a new team or why am I going to risk myself playing for this team, kind of like the Le'Veon Bell thing, like why should I risk my body when I could save myself and not play for this 1-7 team. So I give them a lot of credit for staying together and rallying. So first thing I wanted to say, Corey Coleman continues to look really impressive on kickoff returns. The first kickoff return of the game, he had a good one. At the point with, I think late in the fourth quarter, he had a big one when we needed to answer the Bucs scoring, and they were starting to come back, and Corey Coleman gave us a big boost and returned one to like the 35 or so. So he's done a terrific job since coming here. So I love saying this because I love him. So Eli Manning was terrific today, almost a perfect passer rating and all that kind of stuff. He was 17 for 18. I remember the one incompletion should have been a completion. I think Saquon got turned around on a wheel route. They'll hit on those eventually. I remember we had a wheel route miscue in the San Fran game, but I think at one of these games they'll hit that and it'll go for a big play. But Eli Manning looked terrific today. I mean, he did what he had to do. As I said, he only threw 18 passes, and the Giants ran the ball a lot more than they had to pass, which is a formula for winning, so you definitely want to see that. Had a couple of touchdowns, 231 yards, and of course no interceptions. I believe no turnovers. He had that play where I think he tripped over his running back. I think it was Saquon at the time, and lost the ball for a split second, but recovered it. So that was an unfortunate sequence there, but Eli Manning did a great job today, so I give him a lot of credit. Eli never gets rattled, though. That's the way he is, and that's why he's been the quarterback for the Giants for so many years now. Doesn't let people get to him, doesn't let the critics get to him, and even though I was a critic a while ago and even recently, it still doesn't change my opinion about where I want to go in this offseason. Like, I do believe this will be Eli's last season here. Playing well against two really bad defenses won't really change my mind. But, I kind of want this guy to ride off into the sunset in the correct way. So, I don't want to root against Eli Manning, of course. That would be terrible. So, I like what he's doing right now. Saquon Barkley, 27 carries, 142 yards, couple touchdowns on the ground. Also had 2 receptions for 10 yards and a touchdown. I mean, Saquon is doing everything that he could do. And although the Giants only won by 3 points, I mean, he's doing everything you can do for a running back to be a big part of a game. And, my argument for wanting to draft a quarterback this year was that running backs don't impact the game enough. But in this particular game, it looked like Saquon had a handle on it, and he was a vocal point of this team from the very start. And they were giving him the ball. 27 carries is a lot. Got 142 yards out of it. did everything they asked him to do, and he was a huge factor in this game in order to lead the Giants to victory. Odell Beckham only had 4 catches, but they were on 4 targets, so he did everything he could. Had those 4 receptions for 74 yards and a touchdown. His touchdown was incredible. I mean, it didn't look incredible when you're watching it as a casual fan, but the amount of strength he has in his hands to hold on to that ball the whole way was just really impressive in my mind. So a lot of credit to Odell Beckham, always stretching the field, always a threat, and he's definitely living up to that contract. I mean, I don't have the numbers on the top of my head, but he's definitely had an amazing season so far. I mean, he might have had maybe 1 or 2 down games, but I wouldn't really blame him for that. Odell has looked very good this year. The injury has not slowed him down. I mean, you can argue that he looks better now than he has in the past. So I think Odell continues to grow as a player. He's still young and, just one of the best receivers in the game. So I love watching that guy every week. So last week, someone brought it to my attention. I forgot to praise the offensive line in San Francisco, and my response was, well, if I don't mention them, then it's probably a good thing. But today, I did remember to praise the offensive line. They did give up 4 sacks, I'll admit that, but outside of that, they were pretty solid. I mean, definitely for the run game, they opened up a lot of holes. The Buccaneers do have the worst defense in football, let's be honest, but to give up 4 sacks, wasn't a big fan of it, but for the most part, they held up. They were an average to above average offensive line today, and that's really what you need. I mean, the Giants' offensive line is never going to be great. It's never going to be top 5 in the league with this personnel, but, you take an average offensive line and you work with what you got, so they did a good job of that. I thought a huge momentum shift in the game was that 4th and inches or 4th and 1, whatever you want to call it, when Fitzpatrick tried to sneak and the Giants were able to stop them. I think it was 7-0 Giants at that point. They did an awesome job of just holding their ground on the line. Landon Collins got behind and got his arms around Fitzpatrick and didn't let him go any further. And, that was a huge momentum shift in the game. I think that was like kind of a turning point for us. And after that happened, you kind of realize, like, okay, we have a legitimate shot of winning today. The Giants were a favorite today, but in my mind, as a fan that watches every game, I wasn't too convinced. But after seeing that kind of play, it was it kind of made me feel that we had a pretty good shot today. So also Michael Thomas, and let's be honest, Dave Gettleman's signings this offseason as free agents go have not been all that great. I mean, you look at the Omame one. Nate Solder hasn't lived up to the money yet. There's probably a few others that haven't been that great. But, if you look at Michael Thomas, he's been terrific this year. Had the interception. He's making plays everywhere. And, he's just one of those guys that, he wasn't, I'm sure, pursued by a lot of teams in free agency, but they had an eye for talent there, and they got themselves a nice safety to play alongside Landon Collins. So I give them credit for signing him, and Michael Thomas has been great this year. So the Janoris Jenkins / Ogletree interception, I remember I tweeted that Ogletree kind of finessed that interception from Janoris when I first watched the replay, because it looked like Janoris was about to intercept it, and then out of nowhere comes Ogletree and basically steals the ball and was able to run it in. So if Janoris held on to that ball, I don't know if he scores. So, we'll definitely take the Ogletree touchdown, but I thought it was kind of funny. But it was a really good play by Ogletree because, you want to pursue the ball. Maybe some other linebacker might have said that play is over, I'm not going over there. But he was pursuing the ball, got down on the ground, and was still able to intercept it. And speaking of interceptions, we had 4 interceptions today. Really good job by the secondary. When you're facing Ryan Fitzpatrick or something, I called him that last week, I think it was, or Fitztragic, one of those, had a very tragic day today and was benched for Jameis Winston once again. And that whole situation's embarrassing for Tampa Bay, but that's not our problem. So a lot of guys with interceptions today. Once again, I want to praise Aldrick Rosas. He's now 20 for 21 this year, I believe, on field goals. Made a 52-yarder, I think it was today. Made all his extra points, all that stuff, and we didn't have to kick a lot of field goals today because my next point is red zone efficiency, and we were 4 for 4 in the red zone. That's awesome, and I thought one of the Giants' biggest issues outside of their offensive line and their underperforming quarterback was not being efficient and not finishing in the red zone. I thought that was a huge issue. We remember the Atlanta Falcons game when Odell was basically open in the corner of the end zone, and then they weren't on the same page, and they didn't score a touchdown there. That kind of stuff comes to mind, and when you get that all figured out and you're on the same page and you're scoring 38 points in a game, it all looks great. But there are so many little things that go into being an effective team, and make sure you execute every little thing. And I think we've done a good job of that since coming out of the bye, so I give the team credit for that. And as long as they continue to effectively work in the red zone and get points every time they're in there, and hopefully touchdowns, then this will continue to be a good offense. I don't know how good they'll be. I think they have a pretty high ceiling based off the talented players they have and all that kind of stuff. But even Evan Engram had a big catch today in a big moment. Sterling Shepard, even though he was down on that one play, broke a couple ankles and turned a 5-yard gain into like 20-something yards, it looked like. So we have a ton of playmakers on this team and a chance to score a lot of points. So it was very nice to see them score 38 for once. And, it was pretty sad that for 2 years we didn't score over 30 points. Or not 2 years, but a year and a few games. And it's really nice to see this team fulfilling its potential. So, of course, I got to be fair and give them some negatives today about what they did wrong. And it's a short list. It's only about 4 things. But the first thing was run defense. Peyton Barber had 18 carries, 106 yards, and a touchdown. And ever since they lost, not Janoris Jenkins, Damon Harrison, you can tell the run defense has not been that good at all. Dalvin Tomlinson really hasn't looked as good when he's not next to Snacks. So that loss is definitely showing right now. And Peyton Barber, no disrespect to him or anything, but he's not one of the better running backs in football. He's probably not one of the top half running backs in football. And he's yet to have a good game with Ryan Fitzpatrick under center. So the Giants made Peyton Barber look really good today. And, when you watch Barber play today, he did look good. But I'm just saying from his career and from this season, it's not like he's been that great this year. But definitely looked good today. And the Giants defense was a big help for that. So they got to tighten it up. I mean, they really have to do a better job against these, teams that like to run the ball. Luckily for us, the Buccaneers don't rely on their run game. They have a lot of playmakers in the passing game, so they rely on that. But our third down conversions on defense, that needs to be worked on. The Bucs were 6 for 9 on their third down conversions, and they had a lot of we had a lot of third and longs for them, and they were able to convert, and even third and short, and they were getting these these pass plays and making the right plays, and we just weren't stepping up on defense, and we were basically letting them keep drives alive and stuff like that, and that was part of the reason they were allowed back into the game. And we were up 24-7 at one point, and it ended up being a 3-point victory. So you can't really have that. I understand the Buccaneers offense is good and all, but I do give the Giants offense credit, which is weird because I'm usually giving the defense credit for putting up a lot of points today, because their defense really didn't look up to the task today. They don't have the best personnel on defense, I get that, but when you're up 24-7, you kind of 24-7. That sounded really weird. When you're up 24-7, you wanted to you want to close the game out and not make it a 3-point game in the end. So also, I mean, we had decent pressure today, but definitely wasn't as good as I want it to be, or as any Giant fan wants it to be. We only had 1 sack today, which I think was Kareem Martin in the beginning. And I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, the Giants' defense and the offense is kind of weird. It's like when the defense plays really well, the offense sucks. When the Giants' defense is bad, the offense is good. It's like vice versa, all that kind of stuff. So it's weird how it works. I hope they both get on the same page. It'd be nice to score 38 points and have the defense hold a good Buccaneers offense to under 20 points. But it is what it is. It's still a win. It's a back-to-back win, and we'll definitely take it. So we're at the point now where the Giants still have a pulse, and we're winning games now, and we can't really root against this team to lose anymore. I don't think we should worry about the draft anymore. I think until we're mathematically out of it, we really shouldn't care about the draft anymore, and we're still in a crappy division, have a chance to gain some ground on the Cowboys or Redskins, because they play each other on Thanksgiving, I believe, and then we have a division game against the Eagles, obviously. So I believe we were in Philadelphia on Sunday at 1 o'clock. So obviously the Giants don't have a good recent history in Philadelphia playing there, but if they can win that game, then that's gonna open some eyes, and I might start to believe that this team is better than I originally thought. So I really hope they do so. I'll talk to you guys after the Philly game. Let's go Giants! Try to go 4-7, get back in this division, and we'll see what happens. So thanks for listening, guys.